If your family owns family land and you're tired of everybody fighting over what they're going to do with the family land and not coming up with any strategic solutions, this video is for you. I am attorney Veronica McClendon, and I have worked with so many families when it comes to heirs property. I've worked with heirs property involving houses in the city, houses in the country. I've worked with large pieces of land in the country. I have worked with small little plots of land in the country or in rural communities. I have dealt with it all. I have seen it where it's been in the family for multiple generations, and now we got 300 heirs owning this one piece of property. And I've seen it where it's still kind of early in the phases where we might just be at the second generation where the parents have passed and now the children and maybe even some of the grandchildren own an interest in this family property. So I want to talk to y'all today about some solutions. A lot of times when you go online and you read the books, they talk all about the problems. They tell you that heirs property is a huge issue because it's owned by everybody in the family and nobody can do anything to control it. They tell you that it's easier for outsiders to buy into the property or to somehow acquire an interest in the property and force a partition of the family land. We've heard about families losing their land, being forced off of their family property, being forced out of their homes. And a lot of times we are not talking about solutions. So what I wanted to do today is just spend a few minutes talking with y'all about a pathway to help you to deal with your family heirs property. Now, I'm going to get a disclaimer. I am an attorney, and I am going to recommend that you hire an attorney to help you through this process because heirs property involves a lot of legal issues, and you need to have an attorney who's experienced who can help you to work through those legal issues in a way that's going to get you to your desired path. Now, I have videos elsewhere, and I might do one again in the future where I talk about how to select an attorney, but we're not going to talk about that today. What we're going to talk about is a very general overview, a very general strategy on how you and your family can deal with your family property. Now, I want y'all to put in the comments questions that you have about the things that I'm talking about, any situations that you've encountered that you could use some insight on, and perhaps I will do a video on it in the future to give a little more depth to this topic. So let's go ahead and dig in. We often have families come to us and they say, I have this family property. We have this family property. It's been in our family for 3, 4 generations, and we are trying to figure out a way to deal with this property. A lot of times, that way to deal with the property, the family's not really clear on what they want. And so I often encourage them to start with first, what do you want with this land? How do you want to move forward? Does the family want to sell it? Do they want to keep it? Do they want everybody to divide it up and everybody go on their merry way? And I also encourage families to not only decide what you want to do with it, but to dream big. Don't just say, well, we've been in this trouble all this time, so we might as well sell it. Like, I don't want to hear that kind of a goal. I want to hear a goal of, we have been having a lot of challenges with this family land. I don't really know what to do with it, but I would love if we could put some housing on it and have a place where family members can stay if they need a place to stay. I would love to create Airbnbs, to put writers retreat centers on the property. We want to harvest the trees on the property and sell the trees and generate income that way. I want families thinking about those kind of goals. And once we know what your general goal is, as your attorney, I can help you to map out a strategy to that goal. But if you come in resigned and just say, we just do whatever we got to do, I can't really work with that. I need to work with something tangible. So if you know you want to sell it, then hey, we can help you sell it. But if you know you want to keep it and you just don't really know a way to do it, then we can help you do that. But the first thing you got to do is come to me with a goal. Then I'm going to say, hey, I need y'all to work on your family tree. I want everybody to come together, see what obituaries you can find, death certificates, family Bibles, anything that you can find that helps the family to outline the family tree. Get those elders, record them talking about the family history. Maybe even write down the things that they're saying, write down dates, see what you can find. There's people who are genealogists who can help you to put together your family tree. Whatever you need to do to get that information, that's going to be our starting point. And so if you don't have that access to that information yourself, again, like I said, you might bring on a genealogist who can help you. But I encourage you to talk with your attorney before you do that, because they can help you decide exactly which directions you need to go in so that you don't go chasing a rabbit down a hole that's going to be super complicated in the future and unnecessary. That's the main thing. I don't want y'all doing something that's unnecessary. So we're going to get you to build a family tree. First person in the family to own the property, they are at the top of the tree. Then we're going to see if they were married at the time of their death, were they survived by any children. If those children are deceased, we need to look at who their heirs were. We also need to see if anybody in the family had a will or a trust, because that can change up how the property passed. It would make, if they had a will, they're not going to be passing their property to their children necessarily. It could go to one child instead of all five, or it could go to two children, or their interest in the property could go to someone totally outside the family. So if someone has a will or a trust, we really got to see how they left their part of the property so we can map out that family tree in the proper way. But number two, after you have your family tree, you're going to work with an attorney. We will do a title search. We're going to use your family tree to help us to look for any deeds that may not be connected to the original chain of title. And we're going to build out a chain of title using all of the deeds and affidavits, and we're going to search probate court records, whatever we need to find to be able to map out the chain of title. How did the ownership of the property go from the first person in the family to own the property? First of all, we need to know, how did they get the property? Because sometimes we find that they got the property from a parent, and maybe we have to go even see how that parent got the property so we can get a full chain of title as the property has passed through the family. And we're going to see, how do we get from that original family member to the family members who are living and who have inherited an interest in this family property. Somewhere in there, sometimes after we finish that process, sometimes even before, we want to help you come up with a consolidation strategy. So as you understand, family heirs property is family property where more than one member of one family owns an interest in this property. Usually it's gone down one, two, well, two, three, four generations, maybe even five or six, where instead of this original one person owning this property, now their interest has been splintered to all these different branches. If they had children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, those individuals can inherit an interest in this family property. As you can imagine, nobody wants to do business with 10 people, 20 people, 300 people, like I mentioned earlier. Nobody wants to do business with them. No bank is going to loan you money. If you want to sell it, nobody's going to buy it from you like that. Selling the timber, a reputable company is not going to do business with you. So you want to take all of those individual ownership interests and put them into a single entity. It might be one person. I had a case where the whole family, in one way or another, they, some had to be bought out, but for the most part the family was cooperative. They wanted to give this property or sell their interest in the property to one family member, and we were able to take that through the process, and now that person owns 100% of the property. Is one of our success stories. So excited about that. Sometimes it's not going to be a single person. It might be that we are creating a family LLC, transferring the ownership into that single LLC, making sure that instead of it being owned by all these family members, it's owned by one person. Some people like to do trust. I haven't really gotten into the trust as far as a way to hold heirs property. Now, I do use trust as a planning strategy to prevent heirs property, but once it's heirs property, I usually am not going to put in a trust. But that's a conversation for another day. But whatever entity we're going to create or individual, sometimes families will say, we had 5 original children, so we're going to split the property into 5 pieces. Each family line is going to get their own piece. Of course, those individual pieces are now heirs property, but hopefully the smaller families can work it out a little easier than the big family trying to work it out. So once we have that strategy, we can decide, do we want to get the title cleared first, then transfer those interests into the LLC or the single person, whatever the case may be, or do we want to go ahead and set that up from the beginning so that as we're clearing the title, we can just go ahead and start transferring ownership interest to the individual or to that entity, that family owned entity. But we figure that out. If you're creating a family entity, you need to have a strong agreement with it. Don't create an LLC and start deeding property to it and thinking that you're done. you need to make sure that you have an operating agreement that says what happens in different scenarios. For example, if one of the family members dies, does their interest in the LLC go to all of their heirs? Or is it only going to go to those who are related to them by blood? Or perhaps they get to name the individuals in their line who is going to receive their interest. We also got to talk about how we're going to run this thing, governance, management, voting, things like that. We want to make sure that you don't go from one crazy situation and just create an even crazier one. So we want to make sure that we have an operating agreement that says, how do we make decisions for the property? What types of decisions can the governing board make? What kind of decisions does the whole family have to make? You get to put those details in your operating agreement. So, what I just outlined to y'all is basically my 4-step strategy, which I actually forgot to put in one. Well, I kind of put in the fourth piece, which is succession planning. So, we start out with we have title clearing, we have consolidation, and we have succession planning. And even before that, we have assessment. Like I said, family tree, title search, and then you have your attorney to evaluate everything that you have to outline the strategy. So I kind of got out of turn. I forgot to explicitly state my assessment piece, but I don't get into any of the title clearing and consolidation or any kind of succession planning until first I assess the situation. So, like I said, I'm looking at your family tree, I'm doing a title search, I'm doing some legal research because for some families, we might need to probate several estates. For other families, we might need to do quiet title. Another family, we might need to do a partition action, or we might need to do a declaratory action. I don't know which direction we're going to go in until I actually do my title assessment, which is my family tree and my title search, and review all that along with my legal research until I really have an opportunity to map that strategy out. I don't want to get to executing because I don't want to create a plan that ends up not working. So that's a general idea of how I work on an heirs property case. I wanted to create this because a lot of people ask me, where do we start? They feel overwhelmed. They feel like there's no point in trying. I'm here to say, go ahead and try, but do it in a strategic way. Do it with the assistance of an attorney who is well versed in real estate law, probate law, and even some small business law when we come to creating these family LLCs. Get somebody who's experienced, who's on your team, and you're good to go. Don't give up. Don't think that there's nothing you can do. You can do this, but you just got to have the right people on your team. One thing I forgot to mention, if there's property taxes that are owed on that property, you pay the taxes. If you need to split it up between family members, do that. Just get those taxes paid because the government does not care that you're trying to work out your heirs property situation. If those taxes are not paid, then they're not going to let you keep that property. So make sure that you pay the taxes. And if family members are coming together to pay the taxes, or if there's one person paying the taxes, then make sure that you document how much they paid so that they can be reimbursed, or maybe they will get a larger portion of the land. But make sure those taxes are paid. Don't let them go unpaid. That's all I have for y'all today. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, share it with your family. Maybe they can learn something, and maybe this will get everybody moving and excited about getting something done with their family property. I got many videos where I talk about how you can use your family property, things that you can do to make money using your family property. But the first thing you got to do is decide that you're going to get this thing cleaned up and start working with your attorney to create your plan. I hope this helped y'all with that. Y'all take care.